Let me ask you something uncomfortable. Are you still waiting for closure? I mean, really think about that for a second. Are you waiting for that one conversation, that one explanation, that one moment where they finally say the thing that makes everything make sense? Maybe an apology, maybe an explanation, maybe just honesty. Something like, here's what really happened. Look, people ask me this question constantly. Should I reach out to get closure? Why won't they just explain what happened? Don't I deserve closure after everything? And honestly, those questions make perfect sense. Because when something ends suddenly or weirdly or painfully, your brain wants resolution. Your brain wants the story to make sense. But here's the problem. The person you're waiting for closure from is often the exact person least capable of giving it. And that's the part nobody tells you. Think about this for a second. The same person who couldn't communicate clearly during the relationship, the same person who avoided difficult conversations, the same person who breadcrumbed you, disappeared, came back, disappeared again, that's the person you're waiting to deliver clarity? Look, I'm not saying they're a bad person, but I am saying something important. If someone struggles with emotional accountability, closure conversations are usually the last thing they want to have. So what happens instead? Silence, distance, or worse, vague messages. You know the ones. Hope you're doing well. I think about you sometimes. Sorry things didn't work out. And your brain reads that and immediately starts spinning. What does that mean? Is that an apology? Are they opening the door again? Should I respond? Let me tell you something. Those little messages don't bring closure. They usually restart the confusion because now your brain has fresh material to analyze. And suddenly, you're right back in the loop. Did they ever love me? Why did they breadcrumb me? Why am I still thinking about them? Will they come back? Look, before we go deeper into this, let me say something quickly. If this video is hitting home for you, take a second and like the video, follow the channel, subscribe, and share it with someone who might need to hear this, because there are a lot of people stuck waiting for a conversation that may never come. All right. Let's talk about the psychology behind closure, because this is where things get interesting. When people say they want closure, what they're really saying is, I want the pain to make sense. They want the person who hurt them to acknowledge it, to explain it, to validate their experience. And honestly, that desire is very human, because if the other person finally says something like, I know I hurt you, I should have handled things differently, I cared about you, but I couldn't show up the way you needed, your brain relaxes, the story completes. But here's the difficult reality. A lot of people who leave relationships without closure do it because they're avoiding that exact conversation. They don't want to face the impact of what happened. They don't want to sit in that discomfort, so they leave things unfinished. And that leaves you holding all the questions. Think about this. You're sitting there months later, sometimes years later, still wondering what really happened. Did I mean anything to them? Was any of it real? And the reason those questions keep looping is because your brain believes the answers are still out there somewhere. But let me tell you something honestly. The closure you're waiting from may never come from them, not because you don't deserve it, but because they might never be emotionally capable of giving it. And once that realization sinks in, something shifts, because you stop waiting for them to finish the story, and you start realizing something else. The story might not get a perfect explanation, but it can still end. Look, closure isn't always a conversation. Sometimes closure is simply recognizing a pattern. You look back and you see the breadcrumbs, you see the distance, you see the avoidance, you see the unanswered questions, and at some point you realize that the pattern is itself is the explanation. Not the speech you hoped for, not the apology you imagined, just the reality of how the relationship actually unfolded. Now, that realization doesn't erase the feelings overnight. You might still think about them sometimes. You might still wonder, but the obsession starts losing power because you're no longer waiting for someone else to unlock the door. You realize you can close it yourself. And if you're watching this right now thinking, yeah, I'm still waiting for closure, just know something. You're not the only one. This is one of the most common mental loops people get stuck in after relationships. And if you ever want help untangling that loop, actually working through the questions in your mind so they stop running your thoughts, you can book a one-on-one session with me through the link in my bio. or reach out through Pop Call for chat, voice, or video. Sometimes talking it through with someone who understands these dynamics can bring the kind of clarity the other person never gave. Because the truth is, waiting for closure from someone who already walked away can keep you emotionally tied to them for far longer than the relationship itself. And you deserve to get your mind back.